you want to hate me even more than you already do? Cool. And what am I talking about? Well, I, for one, would love to see Shane McMahon in AEW. But look, it's only because I'm Dr. Robotnik and I love chaos. I say this all the time. One day I'm going to be dead. So if wrestling can inject enough madness into my veins that every day I can wake up and go, this is so stupid, I'm going to be a pretty happy guy. So let's break it down about how AEW could or should or maybe will do this if it does all go ahead. And I'm actually going to go against the grain to begin. I don't think it should be a surprise. Like, AEW has done loads of surprises over the last few months and over the last few years. And even when that picture of Tony Khan and Shane McMahon leaked out, it's not like all of a sudden loads of people ran to Dynamite to see what was going to happen just because we had a tease. I think this is one where you have to look right down the lens and say, damn it, Shane McMahon is going to be here on Wednesday. I mean, you can even do the All Elite graphic if you do want. Who even cares if it's a short-term deal? The whole point there is to get some attention on all of this. And you could even have a press conference. When was the last time we saw that? Like, Shano doesn't have to be at the press conference, but you could just have people walking in like it's Poochie from The Simpsons saying, well, man, he's not here right now, but let's talk about Shane McMahon. I just think if you do go for the, oh my gosh route, you may actually miss all of it the following week, because by that point, everybody's going to see the clips. Everybody will have seen the fan reaction, which is the main thing that people love to begin with. And unless you've given them some good steeds to stick in their mouth, I kind of got this feeling that maybe not enough people will care. I also don't think in the early going that we should choose face or heel either. Like, I don't have to come out and go, oh, AEW sucks and WWE is the best, because that takes away the best thing about all wrestling, the organic reaction of the fans. Now, we assume that he would get booed just because that's how the All Elite Wrestling audience is, but I don't want them to know that before all of it. I want to sit there and go, oh my gosh, we're about to experience something absolutely chaotic. I also then think it means you can lean in the direction that the fans are telling you, but backstage or even in the ring, it also means McMahon can interact with anyone. Doesn't matter if you're a babyface, doesn't matter if you're a heel, he can shake hands, he can hug babies, he can do a backflip or a cartwheel if Jack Cartwheel is around, and that is just going to make for more interesting TV. Let's not forget otherwise, doesn't matter if you're Shane McMahon or Timmy Mallet, if what you're doing on the television set isn't any good to anyone, then it ain't gonna matter. You also want to make sure you lean into that what the flub is happening moment. We're gonna talk about this more later, but imagine Shane McMahon having a conversation with Maxwell Jacob Friedman. You will want to rub your eyes because they won't actually believe what your brain is telling you. I don't think anybody should trust him either, which is when we get into the crutch of the video, because wrestling is cyclical, what old is new again. So if we can go back and get some of that 1996 WCW magic, where you're like, man, I don't know what this guy is up to, once again, we should absolutely lean into it. Now, no, nobody's gonna think this is real, quote unquote, because it is 2024, but both companies have proven time and time again that if you can get this balance just right, even nerds like me go, I'm not entirely sure what's going on right now. So let's follow on with this, friend, start having some fun. Yes, I actually think long-term, Shane McMahon should be a bad guy. Again, he should be the invader coming into AEW. The first person he should mix it up with is MJF. Now, they don't need to be a unit, and they don't need to be somebody you see all of the time, but they should be friends. Again, Maxwell is the worst person in that company when it comes to getting boos. We're meant to hate him. So if he can say, well, look who my new best friend is, that's gonna work for everyone. At the same time, though, AEW right now is also the land of factions. So you see where I'm going with this. And if you don't, I'm just going to tell you anyway, Shano should start building one. And listen, I kind of feel like Wardlow should be a part of that. And I know every time we put Wardlow in a faction, it all goes bad. So do not do this unless you are going to see it to its natural endpoint, which would be Wardlow with one of the major championships. But you know, if you do need a bad guy heater, well, go through the roster, he's probably the best pick. Ultimately though, there is going to be so much insider baseball here, just by the nature of it, you can start picking your sides, which leads us to somebody we haven't seen on television in ages. Now, I do not know what's going on here, so if it is an emotional thing or a health thing, I just hope they are okay. But do you know who used to work in WWE and now works in AEW and has no story whatsoever? Miro. Now, I have no idea if he would be up for that, but I just had this vision in my dumb brain with McMahon cowering in the corner as a babyface is about to whoop his ass, and who appears to make the save? That's the former Rusev. I mean, you've got the obvious tie-in there, and I suppose you could do something with Paul White, but again, I don't think you just need a group of huge men. And also, if you did want to go totally bonkers, there is Adam Copeland when he is ready to come back. Now, I'd actually prefer he carried on doing his own thing because it was so damn good. I'm gonna put it out there and you can do with that whatever you want. Do remember that when it comes to wrestling though, execution is everything, which is when we get into the nitty gritty, because I do think there has to be a couple of ex-WWE guys, but there is also a plethora of OG AEW guys who, you know, could want to join this because they've got a massive chip on their shoulder. I mean, look at this list. Ricky Stark, Sammy Guevara, Ortiz, Daniel Garcia, Anthony Ogogo. These are all guys that have been in AEW basically since day one. And while they're all kind of doing something, they absolutely deserve to be a part of something bigger. Now, you do have to tread carefully with these ones because you don't want to set it like, oh, things would have been so much better in WWE. That's not what we're talking about here. But you can mention it like, oh my gosh, I have this misused talent. You could be a world champion. You could be a world champion. You could be a tag team champion. And now that I, Shane McMahon, have arrived and I have all this business knowledge and experience, well, I'm going to lead you to the promised land. Kip Sabian would also be great at this because he's like a chameleon of gimmicks. He can do whatever you want him to do, and even somebody like an Angelico. Like, I'm not saying you're going to overly focus on that guy, but he's been around for so long, if you gave him a mic and said, hey dude, can you go out there and cook? He may make you a pie. As a quick aside though, as I do get on, and I'm not talking about remaking the corporate ministry here. No. And the only reason I do say that is because there is a group, the House of Black, where somebody could go, wouldn't this be funny? And no, it wouldn't. The corporate ministry was stupid, aside from their theme tune, which was very, very catchy, but it didn't work at all, and ironically was over-egging the pudding. Also, Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King just have such a cool factor to them. So if you are going to do anything with them, just feature them more, but don't mess with it. If you do go the faction angle though, with some of the people I have mentioned, and continue to say, man, backstage in that locker room, they are causing some right controversy, then all of a sudden, maybe we could get to some faction warfare. When we know that Blood and Guts exists, or even Anarchy in the Arena if you want to pay this off, and again, we've mentioned this one, then you got the Bang Bang Gang, the BCC, the Patriarchy, the Acclaimed, the Elite, the Death Triangle, the Learning Tree, the Undisputed Kingdom, they're all there. You can even go totally out of your mind and have Shane McMahon and his posse take over Ring of Honor. That's right, they take it over. They go in there and they totally destroy it in their own guise, whatever that means. And before you go, oh man, that sounds so ridiculous, that's half the point, because again, we're testing the waters here. I like ROH, but I think it's fair to say it's the least of AEW priorities. So if you do want to use it as a testing ground, get your science kit and get to test it. It also means that you can make a lot of noise without infecting your main show, and also it actually gives the AEW portfolio even more depth, because if it does start clicking, hey ho, more people are going to watch Ring of Honor. You can even pick a Rampage or even a Collision or something like that, and if all of a sudden you do see an uptick, then yes, the big reveal with all of this is you probably could do a WCW versus NWO storyline. And let's not pretend the invading group doesn't work. It worked in Japan and it worked in World Championship Wrestling. The only reason it fell apart is because it never ended. And we got to 1999, it was still going on. It was like, are the WCW guys ever going to get their revenge? Oh, they're not, right? I'm watching Raw instead. And I know that Tony Khan doesn't want to be used as a regular TV character, but he does exist in this universe, so he could pop in and pop out. And listen, we're talking about miles in the future here. If Kenny Omega is back, he could be the on-screen TK. I mean, before the Young Bucks talked him out, that's what he was hinting at. Listen, Omega can do anything he wants, he's the best. And I understand a lot of this sounds really geeky and you should be getting mad at me right now, but I'm gonna say it again. Wrestling is cyclical. Look what they're doing down in NXT, where they're just rehashing old angles, and it's tremendous television. So given this was one of the biggest storylines that ever happened in sports entertainment and happened in the mid-90s, well, I think if you've got Shane McMahon, who could be like an Eric Bischoff or a Kevin Nash or a Scott Hall, whatever you want to call it, it may be worth a go. Otherwise, what are you going to do with him? He's going to have a match with Darby Allin? Great. And listen, you're also probably dropping a comment now saying, well, Simon, why doesn't AEW do this anyway? That's a perfectly fair point. If you think you have the right personnel and you can pull the trigger, give it a bit of a squeeze, but it's the fact that Shane McMahon brings with him so much intrigue, like a McMahon family member in All Elite Wrestling. I mean, it's not to the same degree, but it was a bit like when Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon hugged on Raw in 2002. I still remember that today, even though it was years ago, because I was squinting at the TV going, well, that's it, man. Nothing's ever going to be the same again. So I think the big idea here has to be you make the audience believes. If you did do that with I don't know, Dax Harwood. I love Dax, but he's such an AEW trooper, nobody would buy into it. But again, Shane McMahon, we know how affiliated he is with WWE, and he could even come in with some reality and be like, well, man, I could have gone back there, but I didn't, because I'm here to whoop your butt instead. As long as 6 months or a year down the line, whatever his group is going to be called, gets finished off by AEW, and you have some jumps in between, then I just think you've created your own promotional war, and I, for one, would be happy to see this again. Maybe just because I'm sick and tired with what did happen in WCW. Now the company is dead. We are never going to get a full stop on that story. And look, this isn't me saying bring in Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. Don't do that. I'll actually stop watching the damn thing. I think that's where my line is. But I do think if you are going to update it for a modern audience and people that have been brought up on the WWE in the 2000s, Shane McMahon is the only guy that can fit the role. And if you're not going to bring him in, just don't do it. That's all I'm saying. The words coming out of my mouth are not important, but dare to dream. Now listen, everyone's gonna be set off now, so make sure you go in the comments and let me know what you think about all of this. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And if you would like some more AEW trivia, bam, click that video on the screen. Otherwise, my name is Simon Miller. Thank you for joining me for one of my stupid booking videos. And remember, fantasy booking is just that. It's a bit of fun for a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Saturday, or wherever you're watching this. I mean, we've got to get through the day somehow. Why not make up a bunch of crap? I'll see you soon.